In this lesson, we're going to just talk a little bit more about working with variables in Matlab. You want to keep in mind that, again, a variable is a mechanism for us to store information that we might need to use later. And so this allows for values of importance to be stored and represented in our program. And so I've created a new script and I've just called it variables.m. And at the top, I've made a comment to denote that we'll be working with variables. And you want to keep in mind that as you start to develop more detailed scripts, that it's important that you include appropriate comments. Comments are a useful tool in that they help you to understand your design decisions, but they also help other engineers and programmers to understand the design decisions that you've made for your program. And this can be important because if you, let's say you work for a company and you get promoted from an engineer to a senior engineer or supervisor, and you're no longer going to be working directly on a project, you'll be supervising others. So another engineer on the team or a new engineer will step in to take over for you. And they're going to need some guidance as to why you've made design decisions. And so a simple comment can be used in order to help them understand why you've made the decisions that you've made. Now, previously, we were just providing commands within the command window where we did simple calculations like 10 plus 10 or 20 divided by 10, 10 minus 4, and so forth. Now, you'll notice that each time we do a calculation, that it is not going to keep all of those calculations within our workspace. So every time we do a calculation that is not tied to a variable, then the value in our workspace gets updated. So this is useful when you are in a situation where you have variables that are or you have data that you're going to just simply not be able to reuse. But what do you need to do if you have data that you will need to reuse later and you don't want to just have the previous value overwritten? When we get into this type of situation, that is when we will need to create variables to represent any of the information that we want to use. And so if we wanted to define a few variables within our example script here, we could say, let's say if we wanted to create a program that is going to record the expected temperature for each day of the week. Well, the first thing that we would need to do, let's make sure that we denote the goal. And so we are going to store the expected temperature for each day of the week. And so we'll start with our expected temperature for Monday. And so we want to define our variable name, and you want the variable to have a descriptive name. And so what we could do is we could say temperature Monday. And so in this case, I've used what is called camel case. And that means that the start of the first word is lowercase, but the second word, the letter in the second part of our variable is capitalized. And each subsequent word or descriptive for our variable would also be capitalized, just the first letter. And so let's say expected temperature for Monday is going to be 90 degrees. Okay, and then we can make a comment. And then if we want to have another, and to make things a little bit easier, I am just going to copy and paste. Okay, and you saw that we had a little warning pop up. So this is saying, hold on, we have two occurrences of the same variable. This is important to keep in mind as that can throw an error. But if we were to lowercase our variable name, then the error goes away. That's because variables, when defined in Matlab, they are case sensitive. So although we can read this as being the same, the computer is like, no, something is different here because one character is uppercase. So this must mean that they're not representing the same thing. And so Matlab will say, okay, this is a new variable. But if we kept this as a M, a capital M, then Matlab gives us a little warning. And so if we execute it, temperature is stored twice. Say if we record it at 100, and we want to now, we'll just change this to Tuesday. And so in this program, we can have multiple variables that are going to be used. Say Wednesday. And we can change this to be temperature for a provided day. Next, we'll want to have appropriate values entered for Saturday and Sunday. And we don't want all of the values to be the same. There's no fun in that. So we'll just make some minor adjustments here. Okay. And so now we have provided a script that is going to store different values of the temperature for each day of the week. And so when we, again, if you want to remember, if we want to clear our command window as well as our workspace, we can use our two nifty keywords. Now let's say that we want to execute our script to test things out. Okay. And so the script executes, and you'll see that the variables and their appropriate values have been loaded into our workspace, but we don't have anything that is going to our window. If we wanted this to happen, we have two options. We can remove our semicolon, and then it will print out the values assigned to each variable as the script executes. Another thing that we can do is use what we use the display command. And we print out, let's go temperature Saturday. We'll keep Sunday. And it gives us the temperature for Sunday, and then also prints out the temperature for Saturday. And so this is just a simple example of working with variables and how we can both define a variable as well as initialize it to a specific value. In our next lesson, we will learn a little bit more about working with primitive data types, as well as understanding logical truth tables and how they're utilized or executed in Matlab.